Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Becoming the 1% podcast. Today, my guest is Mason Martinez. He is the author of Nunchaku, Freestyle Flows and Combat Conditioning. He is a sponsored Arizona Nunchuck athlete. He has a very unique style of training that I want to share with each and every one of you. Enjoy the episode. Oh, I almost did the intro. Did you see that?
I did see that. It was terrible.
What's up, Mason? How you doing, buddy?
Doing well. How you guys doing?
Good. Welcome.
Man. Thanks for coming on. No, seriously, I'm excited to have you on, excited to talk about what you're doing. And first thing I always like to do is get to know the person that I'm talking to. If you would kind of back up for me and tell me how you got on this journey. I know you've got a book coming out. You've got a unique style of training, all that kind of stuff I want to talk about and dive into. But for me and for us, kind of start off at the beginning. Tell us how you got here.
Definitely. Starts a long time ago. I was a middle school kid, been suffering from really bad asthma growing up. I remember just sitting on the couch sometimes, just have a random attack. I couldn't breathe, have to go to the hospital, whole like ER ordeal.
Oh, God.
Having breathing medicine, inhalers all the time. Couldn't do anything. Always had to be excused from PE. Couldn't exercise or work out or run around or do anything. And it really sucked for a really long time. And I started thinking, like, how can I get out of this? What can I do to help myself? So I started looking around. I was an avid reader since I couldn't do anything else. So I eventually worked my way into like Eastern philosophy, and I was fascinated by martial arts, even though I couldn't really do it at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I loved like Ninja Turtles, as you can see my shirt. I loved Bruce Lee, all that stuff. You know, kid growing up, mid-90s California. So I started working on myself. Started my mind first, trying to figure out what can I do to help myself. So I started reading Eastern philosophy, about samurai, all these ancient warriors, all this stuff from the past. I started applying it to myself and just started trying and pushing it. And then I looked into also like physical outlets, like how can I start getting myself to a point where I can bring up my physicality so I can start doing some of the things I want to do.
Yeah.
So I started just doing basic calisthenics, push-ups, air squats, things like that, just as I could, lightly, slowly, nothing big. Also researching that topic, like human performance and stuff at the time, best I could. And I just started building this foundation. And then by the time I was in middle school, I got enrolled into a jiu-jitsu class in my little small town in California. It was the only martial arts school around. So I started doing that. It was low cardio, more emphasis on the philosophy, basic techniques, takedown style techniques. It's a Japanese form of jiu-jitsu called Budoshin Jiu-Jitsu. So I started doing that for a while. That helped build my confidence as well as my endurance and what I was able to do. So I kept it going. I started forcing myself in high school to run a mile every day. So I did this. I was starting out 11-minute miles, having to walk sometimes, just being all jacked up out there. And then by the end of that first school year, me doing that, I was down to like around mid-7 range on the mile run.
Wow.
So then,
How old were you?
this was probably sophomore year. I think it was sophomore year I did the mile run year.
Gotcha.
And then from there I started going into like a little bit more weightlifting, a little bit more things like that. By the time I graduated high school, I got my black belt in Budoshin Jiu-Jitsu.
Wow.
And then a part of that was to learn a martial arts weapon. So throughout this, I'd been practicing learning nunchucks. My hero Bruce Lee was a nunchuck guy, so I got into it. And I trained nunchucks in my yard almost daily for years and years and years. So it's always been a big part of me for a long time now.
That's outstanding. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody else who's done that.
So graduate high school. I'm in this small town. It's literally a high school class of about 65 people. So literally small town. I want to get out. So day after I graduate, I leave and I'm going to Louisiana. I have family out there. So actually my tribal heritage, I'm Native American, part of the Houma Louisiana tribe. So I have family in South Louisiana still. So my uncle was out there and I lived with him for a bit, got a job. Ironically, I'm working as a mason. So I was doing stonework in Louisiana. This was like 2007, post-Katrina times. So I remember I helped like build a school and helped build up some businesses that had crumbled in the hurricane. So
From
it
the
was
hurricane,
kind of a cool like first job as a kid. But at this point, I was still like,
Sorry, once. All good. Anyway, keep going. Hurricane Katrina, building houses.
yeah. So I'm out there doing construction, manual labor, and that was some really, really hard, grueling work. So I feel like that helped set a fitness baseline of its own. So I did that for like 3 months during the summer of '07 out there, just hot, humid grind all the time, all day long.
And all the while, you still have chronic asthma. I mean, the same as it was when you were young?
Well, I mean,
Has it?
technically, but I could, at this point, outperform like your general person in most things probably.
Okay.
But I was really small. Like you guys see me, I was 111, 110 pounds probably at this point in time.
Gotcha.
So I was just barely starting to build up. So after being out there for 3 months, I came out here to Arizona. At the time, MySpace was the social media go-to.
I remember MySpace.
So growing up, I had never had contact with my father at all, and the person who reached out to me on MySpace was my sister, who is now like a high schooler. So I never had any contact with the side of my family. So I came out here to meet them for the first time, and ended up obviously falling in love with them. Great people, and that's the reason why I ended up living in Arizona, basically, because I was on my way back to California when I stopped in here. So I ended up staying out here, living with them for a moment, and then I got a job as a mall security guard, Chandler Fashion Center. So,
I bet you had some shit go down while you were there. Oh my gosh, the Chandler
job.
Mall.
We could do a whole podcast on that, probably.
Yeah, we could.
that was
What's the crazy? Okay, I just got it. This is like for those who don't know, I can't imagine anyone listening may not. The Chandler Mall is, I mean, it's fentanyl superhighway now, and it's like known for its, I don't know, gang disputes and theft and murder and all signs of like. What's the craziest thing you ever saw go down while you were there?
so while I was working there, I worked the overnight shift for the reason of I didn't want to deal with people all day.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll take the slam. I'll be like a vampire. I'll work at night. I don't care. So I worked the night shift for almost for about 4 years there in total. And I remember there being shootings. There was there were a couple gnarly shoplifts. I remember Apple got hit real bad a few times. So yeah,
I remember that one actually.
it was a weird job. And you're just there as a guard. You have no authority or anything, and nobody.
Did they give you a
cares about
gun?
Oh no, it's
Because you have
it's an arm.
nunchucks.
Nobody knew that, but
That's intense, though. I mean, that'd be a tough. Because if
Yeah.
you're on the night shift, you may not see that many people, but the people you do see,
yeah,
I don't know, man. I wouldn't want to encounter somebody on the night shift.
I broke up a lot of coitus, so we'll leave it at that.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
On the cars
sure.
at night.
Oh yeah, right in the yeah, of course, in the mall parking lot.
Yeah, that was prolific.
At your mag flashlight.
You're
Right.
right. Oh man. Okay, so all right, so you take this job.
Yeah. So in that job, I made a bunch of cool people who have had other careers prior. A lot of people were there were some like prior DOJ like corrections people, some prior law enforcement people, some people that wanted to become law enforcement. So that's what kind of set my sights kind of that direction, because I was just a kid out of high school, I had no idea what I want to do in my life. So I started looking into these jobs, and then about the time I'm 20, I'm like, screw it, I'm gonna join the Marines. So at this point, I had moved back to Bakersfield briefly. I was married at the time. My wife's family was out there. So we end up living out there. I can't find a job. This is like 2009, 2010-ish. So recession, nobody's hiring, can't do anything. So I was like, military's always hiring, I'll just do this. So I ended up getting in to the Marine Corps Reserves. And then soon after getting in, I transferred my unit back out here. So I ended up being stationed at Luke Air Force Base. And most people don't know this is actually the largest unit in the Marine Corps is the reserve unit at Luke Air Force Base.
Really?
Like who would have thought that? Yeah.
I would have thought like Pendleton or
Like
something.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Interesting. Okay, so what do you do during your time at Luke? What is your
so it's just
job?
Training. So the thing about the reserves is you meet once a month essentially, and then you have that time you meet to make up the entire training requirements the activity does during a month. So you're cramming a month of training into 2 to 5 days. So it's
Physical training is what we're talking about, or
it's physical, a lot of admin stuff, unfortunately. So it's a lot of sitting around, a lot of checking boxes, and then you still have to do like your swim call, your shooting call, your physical fitness tests, like everything.
Gotcha.
But it's all crammed into one weekend, and you got to stop your personal life and go do this side thing and then come back. So it's harder than most people realize. And
Sure.
You always hear that's like 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks of summer. But that weekend is actually like 2 to 5 days if you're lucky.
Yeah.
So it's never just a weekend, almost ever. So it's a lot more time involved than I thought it would be. But it was a lot of unique training, like shooting cool machine guns, throwing grenades, stuff you never really would get to do otherwise.
Yeah.
I'm glad I did it, but I was glad to be done when the contract was over. So
How long was it? 4 years?
it was a 6-year contract for the reserves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So 6 years in the reserves. This whole time, are you still doing your form of training? Are you doing any martial arts? What's happening?
So in the background of that, my training is I'm I'm focused on obviously the fitness tests I need for the Marines. So I got really, really good at doing pull-ups because 20 pull-ups was like a perfect score. And then we had the 3 mile run and sit-ups. So I got dialed in on pull-ups. I was working on my running a lot. And then I was just doing like general, like kind of bodybuilding style training with a little bit of powerlifting training. And I got myself up to about 160 pounds. So that's
Nice.
big for me. So right now I'm 125.
Gotcha.
So
Oh wow, yeah.
yeah, so that was a lot. And then I ended up joining the Scottsdale Police Department. So
Wow.
3 years, about halfway through my military contract, I get hired by Scottsdale Police. And so going through the police academy, I ended up losing a whole bunch of weight. Like I lost a bunch of weight in boot camp when I went there. I lost a bunch of weight in the academy too. So I ended up coming out of the academy like 120 pounds, but like not a strong 120 pounds.
Any particular reason why?
It's a stressful life doing that. Because it's on South Mountain, or it was at the time. I think it still is for this region. But I was going there like sometimes 4 a.m, and then at night you're having to iron all your clothes, and you're having to write out these essays, and you had to write block letters perfectly within certain margins. And if you messed up anything on the page, complete redo. So it's all this tedious work you're doing all the time. So I'd be up hours and hours doing this crazy homework, ironing stuff, making sure everything's perfect, and then the drive out there was crazy, doing the classes all day, and they're physically slaying you all the time. You're up the mountain doing push-ups, calisthenics, whatever they're doing, on top of the academics of it. So I would literally, there was a Burger King at the base of the hill. I would go to this Burger King after every class. I'd smash 4 Whoppers, and that would be all I ate. So every day I would just smash 4 Whoppers, and then that would just be my day. So I ended up losing a bunch of weight.
I could see that.
Yeah.
We had on a guest. His name was Travis Brunn. He leads a group. He did very similar to what you. I don't know if you saw that episode. He went from. I'm going to butcher this. He went from the military to the police academy, and he was saying how much more difficult it was to get into the police academy and to basically become a police officer than it was to go into the military. Is that shared in your experience?
Definitely, yeah. I was glad I went in being in the military because the instructors kind of put me on the back seat, as far as like screwing with me and stuff, and kind of put me in almost like a leadership position. Like everybody that was in the military was almost in like a leadership position.
Gotcha.
In the academy, and they kind of gave me more.
You'd already done 6 years military. They know
I was like 3 years in.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah. I was 3 years in the military about that time. So yeah,
okay.
And it seemed easier, like having done the Marine Corps boot camp, doing the police academy was a walk in the park, and I knew every day, no matter what's happening, it's like, oh, I'll be on my couch in so many hours, so I don't really care. So like, yeah, I'll do more push-ups. I don't care. So
yeah,
I had that in the back of my head too, so that kind of helped.
Sure.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the nutrition aspect. How is that influenced what you're doing, and how has that evolved over time with the nutrition side of it?
Yeah, that's changed quite a bit. So when I was a police officer, I was actually doing military training in Flagstaff. I jacked up my knees super bad on an obstacle course. It was like a traditional military obstacle course, and it had been raining, and the mud was kind of crazy. I landed kind of 2 feet down, straight down, and kind of sideways, and it kind of jacked my right knee, and I couldn't walk for 3 months after that.
Wow.
And it was bad. And what sucks the most is I was waiting for the military to give me some kind of medical, some kind of training for it, PT, waiting, nothing happened. So I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna do it on my own. So around my apartment, I took my like office chair on the rollers. I used it as like a walker, and I literally had to start like retraining myself how to walk again. So I spent a couple of months where I couldn't even straighten my leg. I couldn't bend it all the way. I had to work that back out, get my fitness back up to where it was, because it descended in the time that I was out, like really quickly. And me being as crazy as I am, I decided, hey, I'm gonna do CrossFit for rehab. So I ended up going to one of the police stations. Scottsdale Police has a really nice gym. So I went there and I started doing CrossFit on my own, just the main site, CrossFit.com workout. So I started easing my way into that, and it was destroying me every time. I was like, what the hell is this? So I'm doing that for 6 months. I finally get out of there, end up moving into like a real gym. So Camelback CrossFit is it's on Thomas in Scottsdale, in kind of mid-South Scottsdale. I start training there. Really good coaches, really good training environment, and the people around you are just absolute savages. Like I couldn't even believe it. So I started out just grinding, doing this over it and over and over again. So my nutrition philosophy then was I need to eat a lot, keep myself big so I can get stronger. So I was taking a lot of calories. I love beer. I was smashing beer, smashing hamburgers, just trying to get big. So I was floating between like a 145, 155 pounds for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
And then about 2019, I decided I'm done being a cop. I'm kind of over it. So I ended up resigning. I take all my savings I had at that point and decide I'm gonna start my own gym. So I started Integrity Fitness, which was actually Elliot and Cooper.
Integrity Fitness.
Integrity Fitness.
Integrity Fitness.
It was kind of a South Park reference joke because you have Integrity Farms.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like,
So
you're a South Park guy more than I am.
I made my logo kind of similar to that, but with like barbells and dumbbells.
That is funny.
That is
I like
funny.
that.
So I was like Integrity Fitness. So I kind of
Is that his weed? That's what it is. His weed place. Integrity Farms. Yes.
Yeah. So
you watched the pandemic special episode, I assume, many
Great.
times.
Great. It's so good.
I'm actually doing pretty good. We've seen a 400% increase since COVID. Okay, so you started gym.
I started
with
gym.
what practice in mind? With what emphasis? What's the gym about?
So I was doing like personal training and kind of a functional fitness training. I had a couple of police friends in Gilbert that started out as members, so I had a little bit of a member base, and then got everything going, grand opening, and then about 2 weeks later, quarantine. So
I was about to say you got to be getting close to quarantine time, right?
So
Okay,
that's basically the end of my gym right there. So
actually, that's
ended before it could even get started.
Sucks.
So
that's rough, man.
I fiddle around with it for a while. I just let it run its course as long as I can manage. Luckily, the cost of gym equipment skyrocketed during the quarantine times.
Yeah, don't I know it?
So I sold all the gym equipment I had, which had been obviously barely used at that point, for probably about 95% of what I paid for it. So I made a good deal of my money back. So it wasn't too horrible, but
still, you're not in business to break
timing.
even. That's terrible.
Yeah,
that's not, and that's, I mean, you're literally a part of that percentage of gym owners that had to close their doors because they got quarantined out of business.
Yeah.
Like you are a literal example of the people who are like, hey man, these shutdowns shut my business down. Do you know that? Like that sucks.
It was non-essential.
Yeah, right.
Non-essential health and fitness.
So then a background with that gym thing. So obviously I'm in that gym knowing I'm making no money. I got no income, even potentially. I can't even advertise legally, really.
That's right, yeah.
So I end up at one point, for the month, I have $20. $20 for living. That's all I got. So I'm like, damn. So luckily I had this griddle, so I got some rice and some onions and some cheap cuts of meat and stuff, and luckily I had a fridge in there too, so I was living off of one meal a day, trying to make my fitness where it wasn't too much, not too little, where I can maintain myself as needed. But so I got used to this 1 day eating thing, and I found that my fitness kept improving. I wasn't losing weight, I wasn't gaining weight, but I kept improving my fitness. My strength kept going up. My running times kept going down. Like everything was improving, eating once a day.
Interesting.
So I've been on that diet now since the 2020 pandemic, pretty much.
And what is the one meal? What does it consist of?
Basically, whatever the hell I want.
That sounds kind of similar to Wim Hof.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I was going to say, I've heard a couple different people doing this. Where they eat one time per day.
I love cooking. It's one of my favorite hobbies. So I'll start in the kitchen now at like noon, making some intricate thing. And by 5 or 6, I have this intricate meal to eat. I smash as much as I can, and I'm good till tomorrow. It's great.
That's the one day. You go all the way till 5 p.m. Where in the day do you train?
It's not a specific time, but yeah, just whenever dinner's done at night, that's about it. Occasionally, I'll opt for a breakfast time instead, so I'll switch it up.
Sure.
And occasionally, I'll do like a small breakfast, small dinner on rare occasions. But for the most part, once a day for the last couple of years has been fire for me. Yeah, it's been crazy.
And so you basically maintain exactly where you're at with this. You've figured out a way to balance your calorie intake and your energy output.
Correct.
What does your training look like today? I mean, with one meal on board, what do you do aside from what we see on social media? I mean, what is your train? How many days a week do you train? What do you do?
So on average, it's about 5 days a week. CrossFit, like a normal CrossFit class, is what I consider my baseline fitness. So that's usually like a strength and then like a metabolic conditioning workout. Then on top of that, I'll add in my own additional weightlifting, calisthenics, trail running, sometimes just distance running, flat land, sometimes burden runs, just whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to get through to
Love
get
burden
to the
runs.
next
Ultimate burden
level.
run is a med ball up Camelback Mountain. You ever try that?
That's a good one. No, I do Rose Garden Mountain a lot. I'm working out at Wildfire CrossFit right now. It's actually right at the base of the mountain. So sometimes
Nice.
I actually run from my house to Wildfire, and I'll grab a med ball and be like deuces. They know I'm taking it up the hill, so
Wow.
Sick,
it's been a good
man.
time.
That's
That's very cool.
outstanding.
Yeah.
And where does martial arts fit into that?
So as of right now, I'm just doing the nunchuck thing. I had been training Muay Thai briefly for a little while. I trained some Kempo for a couple of years back when I was doing police still, and then obviously I had the combat training and the police and military stuff. So the jiu-jitsu training I had as a kid definitely helped a lot with all of my crazy career choices. But then also I've had this nunchuck thing in the background, and then that's when I started earlier this year. It was actually, I think it was March or April. I was like, hey, I should write a book on how to use nunchucks, because I was looking around and all the books are kind of like the old tired ones from the 80s, where it's like some old dude wearing the old martial arts gi and he's just kind of showing you a couple moves here and there. I was like, this needs an upgrade. So
Who are you thinking of? I'm thinking of dang it. We just listened to the thing making fun of him. Not Sylvester Stallone.
Chuck Norris.
No, not Chuck Norris.
No. Steven Seagal.
Steven
Seagal.
Seagal. I'm
Yeah,
thinking
yeah.
Steven
Steven
Seagal.
Seagal.
that's its own journey. A couple of his movies from back in the day are pretty cool, but that
They
guy's
were.
lost his mind.
Oh my
Oh,
word, he's
yeah.
crazy. You know, he was a cop too.
Yeah,
That is the
obviously-
craziest thing ever.
It's the job. The job made him lose his mind.
Man, he's totally.
That's why I got out after 6 years. I couldn't take it anymore.
Oh, look at that.
Very cool.
That's very cool.
Me playing in my backyard.
It's such a okay. So first off, the title of the book is called. Is it Nunchaku?
Yeah, the proper pronunciation, if you're gonna pronounce it the Japanese way, is Nunchaku. So Japan has
Nunchaku.
5 vowel sounds: a, e, o, u.
Okay.
So Nunchaku is the proper way to say it.
To say nunchuck,
Yeah,
basically.
but
okay.
as an American from California, I say nunchucks a lot. So
Sure.
so it is what it is.
How is the book laid out? Like,
Yeah.
What do
Is
you...
it a how-to? What's it about?
So that's the journey I went through when I started writing it. I thought I was gonna have a couple dozen pages of hold it like this and move it like that, and then as I got going, I was like, I should add some more stuff in here that's applicable that other books don't have to make it stand out. So I was like, well, it's history of nunchucks. So I started with that, and the history of it's kind of muddled. Nobody really knows. It could have a Chinese origin, it could have a Filipino origin, it could have a Japanese origin. It could have sprouted all those places at different times, been fed off each other. So nobody really quite knows the origin of it.
Do we know kind of the oldest written
One of the more popular
history of it?
ones I know is from Japan. So like early 1600s Japan. The Okinawan Islands are kind of south of the main Japan island. So the Japanese warlords, the samurai warlords, would come down to the islands and kind of take them over. And so they didn't want the people to overthrow them, so obviously they would ban the weapons from them. So they started using farm implements and other things as weapons. So like the bow staff is just a simple stick they would use to carry water, or the iku is like the oar. You may have seen people use that as a weapon. So that was another one. So the nunchuck, they're not sure if it was a grain thrasher that's been modified, or if it's like a horse bridle, like for horse riding.
Sure.
So the thing, it's one of those two things is the origin of it, and someone figured out how to use it as a weapon of centripetal force.
And they don't know
That's
who.
how it is.
We don't know exactly who originated this style of martial arts.
No. So there's another legend in China from the 900s, when the Mongols were attacking back then. That the emperor at the time led a war party out towards the kind of Mongolia-China border, had a war campaign, got kind of pushed back a bit, and they're recovering in this farming town, and the emperor dude sees some of the farming people using this nunchuck-like item for thrashing rice. So he ends up taking one of them and ends up figuring out this whole weapon kata system for it, teaches it to his people. They go back out and kick everybody's ass with these giant nunchucks that the dude just invented. So that's one of the other origin stories. And
Wow.
so yeah, so nobody really knows.
But it was definitely used in combat. The
People
nunchuck
believe
was
less combat, more personal self-defense.
okay.
Because you'd want to defend yourself more like a short to mid-range weapon. Definitely unbladed would be your best bets in combat with it. So an unarmed person, multiple unarmed people, or shorter unbladed weapons. Anything outside of that, you're probably going to get jacked up pretty good.
Yeah, I was going to say, if your opponent has a spear, you're
A
probably
spear
not
or
going to get
sword.
close enough to hit him with your
Yeah,
nunchuck.
yeah, and it only takes one hit with that, and you're done.
What's an unconventional use of a nunchuck that perhaps most people don't know about?
So everybody sees them being swung and getting hit with the non-held handle. But what if I'm holding it and hit you with the side I'm holding, or come around this way? Or what if I kick you while I'm holding it? You're not expecting me to kick you. Probably you're focused on the nunchuck. So
Sure, yeah, I would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kicked. Then you're focused on that. Then you get hit with the nunchuck and get taken out.
If I ever saw anyone in any given situation that pulled those out, I'd be like, okay.
Exactly.
I probably should. It's such an odd and intimidating looking weapon. If anybody, even if you don't know how to fight with it, if you just know how to twirl it, I'm probably not going to.
Yeah, if you're not hitting yourself in the head with it, I'm scared.
Can you imagine having like steel toes with those things? I mean, my word. No one would see it coming.
No, not a chance. Okay, so great. So when did this book launch? You said it was fairly recently, right?
Yeah, so April I started writing this thing, and I came up with all these ideas for things to put in. So I put in the history. I kind of put in the design of them. Like I break down the different parts so that I can describe how and where to hold them for different movements. And then I end up talking about physical fitness because it's a weapon of defense and combat. So if you don't have the endurance or capacity to last in combat, you might as well not even learn how to use it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I figured that's kind of important, and no martial arts books ever touches on fitness, which blows my mind. Like, why?
That is odd. I haven't read too many martial arts books, but that's kind of my
like any weapon how-to book I've ever read has never touched on the subject.
Weird.
Before we go too much further, I do have a question when it comes to, you said you mentioned the history. Because there's so many different history stories, do you kind of give like a summary of all of it, or do you kind of take your own approach, like your personal favorite? How do you kind of go about that?
Yeah, I just laid out a few of the most popular ones that I was able to find over time, or things that I had heard. And so I think there's 3 possible origin stories in there, and then I kind of take the history from the past to like the more modern times, which explains why we have trouble with the word. Like, is it nunchuck? Is it nunchucks? Is it nunchaku? Like, what word is it? And that's because like in the 70s, when the martial arts started becoming popular in the U.S. and Europe and stuff, nobody really knew how to write it, so the word kind of got bastardized through language over time, and then ended up evolving. So now there's 100 different versions of how to possibly spell or write it, and nobody knows really.
And say it.
Yeah, so.
Weird. Got it. So cool.
Yeah.
Are you doing a handstand while doing it? Is that what I see in that video?
Yeah, so it's a spin where you're spinning the chain basically around your hand, and then I'm doing that in a handstand. So kind of a challenge I threw out there.
That's cool.
I need to get more than one loop though. That was harder than I thought it was gonna be.
Not me. That looks significantly difficult, and it would probably be even worse if I tried. That's great, man. Okay, so what else have you found to be beneficial for this style of training? I mean, I see on your page you're a big believer in barefoot training. I mean, does that make its way into the book? Does that make its way into your training? Anything like that?
It's not in this book, no, but in my training, it's become important recently. So in actually March of this year is when I started barefoot training. And
you ever seen Shama sandals? Shama sandals. Eli, do you have their page?
I feel like I've heard of them.
It's like SHAM. I think it's SHAMM. Try Instagram, bud. It should just pop right up. I was talking to him like a couple days ago. But they're great. Because I periodize my shoes quite a bit.
Right.
These are the ones I kind of wear. I actually have them on right now. I wear them for like if I'm walking around or if I'm just kind of training or if I'm hanging out or anything like that. But what's the matter? It's not...
It's not sliding. We're fine. Just keep talking.
Nothing to see here.
It's really good to have a sort of a backup plan because you don't just want to have barefoot training. But for me, if you use, is the iPad broken? Do we need to? Because this happened last time too, didn't it?
I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but just keep going.
Anyway. Just put your shoes on the desk and we're good.
Yeah.
What style of shoe wear do you use? What kind?
So I started this because I read the book Born to Run by Chris McDougall.
Yeah.
And then I found another book, First Steps, Jeremy De Silva. It's kind of the evolution of human walking and locomotion. And that was fascinating too. And then I have foot injuries from the police academy. I jacked up my foot pretty bad there.
Yeah.
Kind of never got it fixed. and then I have another injury on my other foot just from an accident. So I'm trying to fix my feet.
That's them.
And I was having kind of pain running. So I'd get like 7-8ish miles into a run, and I'd be either my knees, my hips, or my back would just be screaming.
Yeah.
And I was getting sick of that. And so I was like, I need to do something different. So I dialed in my running technique, switched to barefoot running. So I started looking up shoes, and I found Zero shoes.
Mm-hmm.
So Xero Zero shoes. And
They have an Instagram?
they do, yes.
What is it?
XCRO.
Xero.
XERO
Yeah.
shoes.
And then down the road, ended up becoming like an affiliate partner with them. So if
There
you
you
go in my link tree and click the link to Zero shoes, get me a commission if you buy a pair of shoes. But they've been amazing, and it totally changed the game for me. So I got a pair of sandals.
That's when I thought I've seen them all.
I got their thinnest pair of sandals and started just hitting the Arizona trails, and it was brutal and it hurt. And my feet were bleeding. I didn't care. I just kept pushing. And my running form and times have improved amazingly since March, to a point that I can't even believe.
Heck yeah.
And
Wow.
I can run a half marathon just as like a casual training day. Like, it's nothing.
Well, the human foot's the best technology we'll ever have.
Mhm.
It's never a good idea, I think, to overcomplicate the situation. And that's what
Right.
a lot of times shoes themselves. I mean, shoes are great. You can have fun designing them, fun wearing them. They're fashion statements and all that. But if you want, because I get plantar fasciitis bad. Like, I just do it. It flares up sometimes, then it goes away. And then so far, the only thing that has really taken that away from me has been using barefoot wear.
Right.
I was wearing traditional tennis shoes, and I'm on my feet all the time because I'm working with clients. Then I train myself.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I was like hurting, like especially in the morning. I would get up every morning. It was just sucked. Like every first step was just the worst. Oftentimes see the problem is when people think that, they think, okay, let me get a lacrosse ball, let me roll out my foot, roll and roll and
Right.
roll and roll and roll. And that's usually not what's causing that. Oftentimes it's like you've got a slight atrophy, or your soles of your feet aren't strong enough. You haven't done enough to strengthen those.
Is that a shot at me?
And that's it's a good idea to consider the possibility that your feet may be weak, not tight. Oftentimes people think, oh, the soles of my feet are way too tight, they need to be stretched. Maybe, but it's also possible that they're insufficiently strong, and you should consider getting some shoe wear, like Viveo Barefoot. Like, I've never tried the Zeros, but I'm sure they do the same.
Right.
Any thin-soled shoe will strengthen the arch and eventually the proprioceptors of your feet, which will increase everything: your neural drive, your endurance, your just walking around. Now, I don't honestly, for the last 3.5 months has been since I really switched over, and I haven't had the same issues. And it's all just, I didn't do anything different because I was doing everything. I didn't do anything different except change my footwear.
Yeah.
So
I definitely hear that. It's been the same for me. So yeah, since that changeover in March, there's that initial period getting used to it for a few months, and then after that, it's been solid. It's been easy running, like literally. It's so smooth, so fast feeling.
How many pairs do you have? Do you
I
wear
have
only barefoot
3.
shoes?
Except for the rare instances I need to put on dress shoes for now. Yeah, it's pretty much exclusively barefoot shoes.
Dress shoes are actually pretty thin too, though. Usually, it's not a big. It's usually a thinner sole.
They have dress shoe styles now, so I'm probably gonna get some Zero shoes ones. But sometimes you gotta kick it up and be fancy. So that's
Sure.
the only time I don't barefoot shoe it. But yeah, usually I'm in sandals, or like I'm wearing the actual Zero shoes right now. But
Are they an American company? The
they
Zero
are. They're
shoes?
based out of Colorado.
That's outstanding.
That's actually a great idea too, to have a dress shoe, because I feel like, I mean, Vibram, Vivo, I mean, none of those really have tapped into that. It's always been athletic wear or like trail running and stuff like that, or toe shoes.
Shama just came out with a boot. It's not a dress shoe though. You're right. I think it's
But
I
getting
don't
more,
know.
getting more into the style, because none of these shoes are stylish. They're
can't
all
wear 'em
for
to-
a purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you get a shoe that you can wear with a suit or anything like that and still get the benefits of neural drive, I mean, that would be huge for a
It
company
would be
to do
big,
that.
yeah. And Zero does that. They've got a dress shoe
They have
line
a
or something.
dress shoe, yeah. So it looks like you're saying, dress shoes have the little heel, so it looks like it has the heel, but it's actually a negative drop inside, so your foot's below where it looks like it would be.
Oh, I see.
You get what I'm
It
saying?
just
Yeah.
looks like they're
Yeah.
nice. They're nice.
And
big
they have
heeled-
boots. They have nice like dress boots, the kind of UGG looking boots that females wear. So they have all kinds of styles now. I saw they just released a bunch of different styles recently too. So
And you wear the sandals running, is that right?
I wear these and the sandals. Yeah. So it just kind of depends how I'm feeling.
My only thing with the sandals is like hitting my toe onto a rock.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have any problem stepping over things that aren't even, but like if you stub your toe into a friggin' rock. It's the
I feel like it makes me
worst.
focus more on my form, because if I have that dilemma coming up, I'm more likely to be focused on how I'm landing. So
Yeah.
it almost makes me run better because I'm worried about hurting myself.
Yeah,
So-
pain's a good motivator.
Yeah,
And a
right.
stubbed toe in the middle of a mountain would probably do
Definitely.
that. Yeah, I might have to check those out. Those are really cool.
Yeah.
Especially the dress shoe thing.
Yeah,
Those are
there we
cool.
go.
There you go. That's
there you
neat.
go.
It only took forever. I don't know why they're not hyping these up more.
Is that the one? That looks like almost like an
It looks
hug.
like it looks like a Tom Brady
There's a
hug.
bunch of different styles and fashions they have, but yeah, they've been doing this for a little bit now.
I like that they're American. The Vivio ones aren't, and it's such a pain in the ass.
Oh,
Their
I didn't
sizing
realize
is
that.
all jacked and everything. There's a great shoe, and
Yeah.
those are probably some of the better training shoes that I've ever worn.
Mhm.
But again, they're just a nightmare. It's like you order them, they come 3.5 months later, and they're like their size 12 is their size 10.5.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, these from what I've seen, they're about, you want to order like a size up, if not half a size. Like, I think sandals I ordered half a size up. The shoes I ordered one size up, and that's been perfect.
got it.
But yeah, they also they make a donation. So I think some percentage of every purchase, they make a donation to the Tarahumara Indians in North Mexico, the running Indians. So
Oh, okay.
so every purchase you make goes towards them too. So it helps
That's
them out.
cool. The running. I mean, is it still a thing? I mean, are they still?
They're still, yeah, they live in the Copper Canyons of North Mexico, and they're the legendary runners. They run 20, 30, 100 miles, no problem,
Wow.
in a day. Yeah. And they wear
Not a lot of
sandals.
diabetes in that clan.
So the basic design of their most basic sandals is based off of the shoe style of this tribal Indians of North Mexico.
Really?
Wow.
Mhm.
The ones right there in that picture,
Like
those
kinda that
minimalist
middle-
ones,
middle
I
top
love
one?
those.
Yeah.
Yeah, middle top with those that
Yes.
right there.
Yeah, so
yes,
that structure. So these people, they'll
that is sick.
they'll find bits of car tire, and then they'll tie them up to their feet, kind of in this style, and that's what they use as shoes.
I like those a lot.
And then they'll crush.
I'm gonna
any
reach out to them and
marathon
try to get
times.
those. Dude, I want those. Those are really, really good looking.
Yeah,
I'm really happy to see how many have actually come out, because it used to be there was only a couple companies doing this sort of thing,
Mhm.
and now with all the influence from the big influencers, I think is what's driving it. Mark Bell,
Definitely.
that kind of thing, and now that is so cool.
That's a water.
I was about to say that's like go to the
So
lake.
this-
go to
Aqua
the,
Cloud.
that's the first shoe I bought with them, and then that's when I started trail running around here with.
I actually like the heel.
And
I like that they have a heel.
I took them on a canyon trip in Utah, and they were beast out there. So those are
Those
they're
are
more
dope.
solid.
I like
they look
those.
like nothing, but they're pretty solid.
What? Look at that. That's sick.
I haven't tried those. Those look neat.
That looks like a straight up, like a Spartan.
Like a
or
face
something.
hugger.
It looks like a face hugger from Alien. That is the first thing I thought of too.
I know there's a big craze with like being able to ground, right? Where
Mhm.
people are like
Yes.
barefoot on the ground. Do these shoes allow you to do that, or do you have any background on any of that?
It's I can feel the ground for sure. I'm not sure what the actual transfer is, because I've been reading a lot about that too.
Don't you have to have like a penny or a copper something in the
No.
heel or something? Is that not what
Oh,
they-
in the shoe
in
itself.
the shoe itself? I thought
I'm
if
not
they,
sure.
some
That
of
would
them
make
will have.
sense
Some of them will have.
in terms of
I think it's
electricity.
copper. I think it's
Yeah.
copper. They'll have a little metal piece in the heel,
So
and
it's
that
like a transfer
grounds
of
you.
energy.
Yes,
I like
yes.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine don't, but I don't know if those do. But that is a good question. If not, someone needs to.
Right.
I mean, how hard would it be to put a penny in the bottom of your shoe?
Yeah, just a bit of metal somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, we might have a business idea right here, guys.
I know. We can't air this now.
All right,
Cut this part
Un-
out.
unusable. Well, man, Mason, where can people reach you if they want to see the book? If they want to find you? If they got questions, where do they go?
So I have a website now. I just launched recently. So it's nunchakufit.com. So it's NUNCHAKUFIT.com. Nunchakufit. So that leads to everything. And also my
Favorite pull-up.
Instagram is Chakchiuma. Sorry for all the hard words. That's CHAKCHIUMA.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a Native American word from my tribe. So that's why I chose as my Instagram.
And that's your website.
Nunchakufit. Yeah, that's my website.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, that's the landing page.
How to use it, and this is where they can get the book as well.
Yeah,
Is
that
the
all
book an
links-
ebook, or is it an
As
actual?
of right now, it's ebook only, available on Amazon. Free if you have Kindle Unlimited, so you can read for free if you have Kindle Unlimited.
Gotcha.
And I'm working on getting the paperback and hardcover versions out. So it's been a bit of a struggle on that for some reason, but I'm working with him on that. So hopefully
Nice, bro.
soon.
Well, congrats, man. I
Yeah.
think you're doing a lot of really exciting stuff. I love what you're about, and I think you've got a really cool training regimen. And yeah, it's been outstanding.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
appreciate it. Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Sweet. We'll cut it there.